All right, 5 seconds. It's 6 minutes after 12, and we're here in our live music studio in Strong Hall here on the Missouri State University campus. I'm Randy Stewart with Studio Live Performance, and singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist, although he has just one instrument with him today, but a whole bunch of foot pedals to, to do lots of fun things with it. jinjx, and he's going to do a solo shot for us today. And I think, why don't we just go ahead and go into the first song? We'll talk a little later.
Yes, sir.
All right, what do you have?
This one's an old standard. It's called I've Grown Accustomed to Your Face. It's an instrumental piece. We'll see what I can do with it.
All right. That's jinjx's take on I've Grown Accustomed to Her Face, starting out our studio live performance here on KSMU. And you'll be able to hear jinjx live this evening at Lindbergh's for Wild Bob's Musical Book Club. What time are you playing tonight?
The activities start at 6:30, and there's about 10 performers.
So you're one of, just you don't know where you're coming in order there. So
No, sir.
So there's going to be a wide variety of different players and singers. And well, speaking of wide variety, you have a huge variety of different styles at your disposal, and just a huge wide variety of influences. Let's talk about your background, because for one thing, your mother is a gospel singer.
That's right. Yes, sir.
And her name is Purity Williams.
Yes, sir.
And so where are you guys from originally?
I grew up here. And was born and raised in Springfield, Missouri, primarily on the north side. And my mom is from the Boot Hill. She's from the Poplar Bluff, Missouri area.
And so there's still a lot of family over there, and very musical family as well. So
that's right.
Yeah, a lot of very large musical extended family is what you say on your website.
Yes, sir.
And you'd go down to Southeast Missouri often as a kid. And
that's right. We used to hear, really all my mom's siblings have their own churches, and they all play music. So music and preaching was kind of a part of my upbringing and my introduction to music, essentially.
There actually is a minister in the family too, isn't there, or maybe more than one?
That's right. All of them are, preach at their own separate
Okay,
churches. Yeah.
but that kind of set the blueprint for your musical interests. When did you start playing?
Um, Actually, it was a little bit later, around 14, was when I got my first acoustic guitar, and that was kind of my first instrument.
Really, what took you so long?
Well, I mean, coming up, I played sports, and that was kind of really, from about fifth, sixth grade is when I started. So
right.
it took kind of late junior high, early high school before I really got into guitar or music.
Did you start a band or anything like that, or what did you do when you first got into it?
Yeah, it was kind of tough because there weren't many people that I knew that had the gospel or even R&B type of influence around here. So, I mean, I was pretty much just playing by myself. I had a great teacher. His name was Ben Bellinger at the school I was at, and he kind of helped introduce me to jazz. So I listened to a lot of jazz, but I really wasn't playing in bands. I was backing my mom every once in a while, but that was about it.
Well, you could certainly hear a lot of Wes Montgomery in your first number there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, he's actually, I think it was Wes Montgomery and also the whole fusion thing from the 70s. So Weather Report and Chick Corea, all those guys are really what drew me in as a player.
What's your next one?
Actually, I'd like to do one that I do this live a lot. This is actually another cover of George Benson, Give Me the Night. When the night is falling and the spirit of the party starts to come alive till the day is dawning, you can throw out all your blues and hit the city lights, 'cause there's music in the air and lots of loving everywhere. So give me the night. So give me the night. You need that evening action, a place to dine, a glass of wine, a little late romance is like a chain reaction. You see the people of the world, they're coming out to dance, 'cause there's music in the air and lots of loving everywhere. So give me the night. So give me the night. Alright, tonight.
George Benson's Give Me the Night, played by jinjx, played and sung, I should say, by jinjx on Studio Live Performance here on KSMU. I love the loop pedal because you can lay down a groove for yourself and sustain it through a whole song. You ever have an instance where you forget to record your little loop and go, uh-oh?
Well, usually it's actually the opposite. Usually my issue is I can loop a song and do it and I'm feeling great, and then you go to do the next song and you realize you didn't clear out the last loop. So I always
you got to hit the foot pedal.
Yeah, so it's crazy. And the ditto looper is what I use, so it's very basic. So you have to double click to turn it off. It's a real pain, but I love it.
Well, basically, Jin has about a 2 foot by 2 foot pegboard laying on the floor with, I'm not sure how many different devices connected to it, various loops and reverb and chorus and foot pedals of various types that have to be switched on and off, and some of them looks like they'd be kind of out of reach or not easy to reach, or you may hit one without wanting to hit it, and
Yeah.
but you know, this is how you're used to working and it works for you.
That's right. It's really
You basically have like an entire studio worth of effects right there at your feet.
that's right. I mean, it was kind of like what you were talking about before. Like when I spent really so many years coming up here in Springfield, and I lived in Chicago, just
Yeah,
struggling.
we have to talk about that too.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But
Oh yeah.
you know, it's a struggle to sometimes find the right musicians, and maybe I'm a little bit of a jerk. I like getting along with people. I don't
Sure.
like just getting anyone. So this really, I actually got this about a year ago and just haven't looked back. Just can play as much as I want with it, and it's pretty much as your imagination can think of. You can loop it.
I love it. It's great. Now, did you sing from the beginning? You didn't take up guitar until the age of 14, but
Right. No, I singing was much later in my 20s, my mid-20s, when I started kind of seriously singing.
so you started out purely as instrumentalist.
That's right.
And not just guitar, but bass and piano. What else did you study and learn to play?
Initially, it was just bass and guitar. Actually, at one point, I was just a bass player, and I moved to Chicago and, you know, kind of got weird about playing guitar and started only focusing on piano, and then kind of came back around to guitar.
And that was when you were 21, right? That was when you moved to Chicago. So that was about 10 or 11 years ago
Yes, sir.
to further pursue a music career. What drew you to go to Chicago? What was the appeal?
Really pure naivety, just pure idiocy. I didn't know much about the city. I mean, I had visited a few times as a small child, but I was always under the impression that there was a very large jazz scene in Chicago.
Well, the city has kind of propagated that idea.
That's right. They've propagated that idea, but
You found that wasn't exactly the case anymore?
no. Or I think that it's very much like the blues. Like, you know, if there's kind of like a if it's monetized and if it's almost cliche, if it's like a tourist thing, there's elements of jazz, but I wasn't exposed to any of it there. It was such a rare thing, and what little bit I was exposed to, it was like at the Green Mill, and they kind of were playing 50s style, 40s style, you know, music. So it wasn't until later on that I met actual jazz musicians that were playing kind of hip music today. But yeah, it's kind of in pockets, the jazz scene in Chicago.
Well, we absolutely have to talk more about your years up there because some of the people you did work with. But let's hear another song. This is what we're about, is the music. So let's hear another song from jinjx.
Absolutely. I don't really consider myself a blues guy, but I like R&B, so I want to do another cover if that's okay.
Sure.
Sam Cooke. This is Bring It On Home.
All right.
you ever change your mind about leaving me behind, won't you bring it to me? Bring your sweet loving, won't you bring it on home to me? Yeah. You know I laughed when you left, but I only hurt myself. Won't you bring it to me? Bring your sweet loving, won't you bring it home to me? Yeah. You know I tried to treat you right, but you've been staying out in the night. Won't you bring it to me? Bring your sweet loving, won't you bring it on home to me? Yeah. If you ever change your mind about leaving me behind, won't you bring it to me? Bring your sweet loving, won't you bring it on to me? Yeah.
That's jinjx with Bring It On Home to Me on Studio Live Performance on KSMU. Now, he will be playing tonight as one of, what do you say, about 10 musicians for Wild Bob's Musical Book Club at Lindbergh's. Mm-hmm. And then 2 shows tomorrow for Valentine's Day. An early show at Cafe Benet at Farmers Park out in southeast Springfield with Grace LaFace. And then tomorrow evening at Papo's Pizza, you'll be there from 6 until 9 p.m.
That's right.
Now, do you have any regular gigs that people can see you like every week or like a once a month sort of thing? Or
I do. Actually, interestingly enough, the folks that got me into this whole looping action, I play every 4th Friday at Arts and Letters in downtown Springfield. Yes. And basically they have a figure drawing night, and I basically just sit to the side, provide live music, and kind of loop myself into a frenzy.
Oh, we mentioned that at age 21 you went to Chicago to pursue a music career, and you promised me a ton of crazy stories from that time. You have at least one crazy story you can give us about your time in Chicago?
I do. I mean, the place is it's wonderful and it's horrible. It's such a great place, kind of a coming of age type of place to live. I'll give you a G-rated story.
That would be good. That would be good.
I remember this was actually later on in Chicago, really wanting to get in the jazz scene, and the Green Mill, which is a legendary, I guess some of the mob bosses from back in the day had their setups there. They still have jams on Friday nights at like 1 a.m. And so I remember getting up at like from a nap at midnight and taking the train and getting there, and it was very, very weird. It was this just weird feeling in the place. I'm thinking everyone's just going to be kind of jamming and just having a good time. Long story short, these are what we call heads. You know, these are like, you know, die-in-the-wool guys that are kind of getting it in. And I remember they get me up there, and they said, we're going to play Stella by Starlight. And this was a song that I had heard but I wasn't familiar with. I didn't know how to play, and I was like, well, hey, I don't know this song. And they're like, well, we're going to play it. So they just played it while I sat there, and no one threw any tomatoes at me, but like I could, you know, the crowd, you know, they turned on me a little bit, and so they went on.
You admitted you showed a weakness.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're like, you don't know everything, so
Right.
You are a loser. So I think we ended up playing Mercy, Mercy, Mercy. They had Mercy on me, and they played an easy song for me, but that to me sums up my Chicago experience. It was a tough place to live, but you learn a lot, and there's always more to learn, you know.
But over a period of 8 years in Chicago, you established yourself as a kind of a go-to guy, as a sideman.
That's right.
For a bunch of different people.
This was primarily for singer-songwriters, acoustic type things, and yeah, absolutely.
And not jazz in this case.
Not jazz.
Yeah.
No, these were people that liked kind of singers, like, you know, standards and things of that nature.
Sure.
But it was not bebop or straight ahead stuff at all. It was kind of like a guy that can play guitar that's not a total jerk, and, you know, can kind of, you know, not. I mean, I believe that the singer comes first, so it's like you really work hard to do your improvisation, but you don't
overshadow. Yeah.
know?
But people like Betsy DeJong and Megan Seiberg.
Right.
You also work with the Joe Jones Quartet, though.
That's right. That was near the end. Joe he's a great guy. I think, you know, we're still Facebook friends. You know, I check up on him. He's truly a Renaissance man. I was in my mid-20s when I met him, and he was in his mid-30s. I think he's actually a professor at Columbia University in Chicago, and he's just, you know, he's a self-taught saxophonist, and I mean, he kind of, you know, he's a photographer. Like, he just does a lot of great things, and he really helped me in terms of giving me songs to learn. He would sometimes call me on a Saturday morning and say, can you play tonight at a show? Learn 20 songs. And, you know, you do the best you can.
Right.
So it was wonderful.
Well, it must have been a great maturing experience for you, not personally and as a musician, both.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think I spent the first few years on the far south side of Chicago where, you know, there's a lot of negativity there, unfortunately, but you know, I really wasn't worried about that. I was just happy to kind of live in a big place where you can play. And then years later, I kind of was in a better neighborhood and kind of knew enough people to where, I felt like I was maturing. I felt like, you know, I'm not a kid. Like, I've kind of got a set of, you know, I know how to handle myself, essentially.
But you were working with Grammy-nominated people, Samantha Cathcart, for example.
That's right.
But you also started writing and recording your own music at that time.
That's right. That was when I started singing in earnest and recording, because the sideman thing is fun, but it began to kind of, you know, I wasn't able to do all I wanted to
Sure.
do. Like
It's
with this,
it's pretty much self-limiting in a lot of ways.
it is, and you know, it's like with this type of thing, or when I'm playing with a group, I can take a solo until I'm satisfied. Whereas if you're playing with a singer, you kind of have to reel it in a little bit.
Right. Well, let's hear another song where you can let yourself go or whatever you want to do here.
Absolutely. This is actually an original. It's on my new album. This is called Power. Baby, can't you see my heart, but you feel my power. Baby, can't you see my heart, but you feel my power. Oh, 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 but you feel my power. Oh, 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 but you feel my power. Baby, can't you see my soul, but you feel my power. Baby, you can't see my soul, but you feel my power. Oh, 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 but you feel my power. Oh, 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 but you feel my power. Baby, can't you see my heart, but you feel my power. Baby, you can't see my heart, but you feel my power. Oh, 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 but you feel my power. Oh, 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 but you feel my power.
original song of jinjx playing a song called Power. And it's one of the songs that's on his new CD, Night Wings. We'll have to talk about that before the end of the hour. But I did want to mention that what's it been, about 2 years that you've been back in the Springfield area? A little over 2 years?
Almost 3 years. Yes, sir.
What brought you back?
I don't know, actually.
Well,
I'm glad to be back.
Good, honest answer.
Yeah.
Good, I don't know.
I actually planned to move to L.A. and went out as far as San Diego, and all my contacts, all the kind of things that I had fell through. And so I came back here just thinking, oh, well, maybe I'll just go back to Chicago, and really never left. Just kind of have stuck around and have been playing a lot of music.
Well, over a 3-year period, you created this debut album called Night Wings, and it was actually debuted. You released it last September, had a nice release party at Arts and Letters.
That's right.
And this takes you into maybe different territory a little bit, this album, musically, that is?
Yes, I think the album, it's very very homegrown by today's standards. You know, I recorded it at my place, and interestingly enough, there's not a lot of jazz guitar in it. It's, you know, I think that it's more, I mean, I was inspired by, you know, Prince's early 80s stuff and
Marvin Gaye.
Yeah. And I also was listening to a lot of Kanye West's 808s and Heartbreaks, where he used the old school technology. So I was really trying to kind of do that, but there's not like
more
in
R&B and soul territory.
That's exactly right. It's like an R&B album.
And you basically play everything from accordion to zither on it. And
Indeed. I mean, it's pretty, you know, I'm pretty much playing just bass and different guitars, and then I'm programming drums. And I mean, but I don't know. I think.
Did all your own production on it. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
I prefer to work that way. Just kind of, you know, I think maybe you lose a little bit in terms of sound quality, but you get the exact performances that you want. You're not having to wrestle with a piano player or a bass player. You just do as much as you can.
Now, you can, of course, obtain this album through all the usual channels like iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby. Arts and Letters, I guess, offers it as well in their building. But took almost 3 years to put this together. This is your first solo venture.
That's right. I've recorded a lot of stuff starting kind of from the Chicago days, but a lot of that stuff, you know, you record it and you post it online and it just gets ignored, you know? So,
we should say that you do have an active YouTube channel.
That's right. I do covers and originals on that channel. Absolutely.
But, well, it's not, I guess I would actually basically like you to describe the feeling of seeing this album through to conclusion and getting it out to the public, and what that feels like.
I still don't know how I feel about it. It's very, I mean, there's so many steps. The actual album process began in Chicago when I still lived there.
Right.
That song Power and another song called Evangeline, which was written for my Chicago drummer. His little daughter was born, so I wrote that about her. But I mean, a few of the songs really were birthed there, and then all the moving about, and then I came back here and I had a job that I think, you know, I struggled to write because it was such an involved job. And so earlier last year was when I kind of quit that job just to really finish up the album. So it was great. It was kind of great to just basically see it through all the way, and not just to record it and put it on Facebook, like record it and basically say, okay, it's on all the avenues, love it or hate it, it's there.
What kind of feedback have you gotten on it?
I've got a lot of positive feedback. I don't know if a lot of people get it because, you know, I mean, not to sound, you know, narcissistic, but I mean, it's an interesting album. Even when I was finished with it, I didn't know what to think about it. I kind of was like, well, this is me doing everything, but it doesn't sound like everything that I say I'm about. But I think that's also good because I think that most musicians, they say that your musical blueprint is often established by the time you're 8 or 9 years old. So a lot of times the music that your parents listen to, that shapes a lot of what you do, as opposed to when you're 15 and 16 and getting into new music. So you're really 2 or 3 musicians. So I think that reflects really a childhood me, essentially.
But if we say it takes you away from folk and the Chicago jazz sound into more of R&B and soul territory in a lot of ways. Yeah. Well, let's hear another song. What do you have next for us?
Let's see. Actually, how about another cover? We could do Ain't No Sunshine.
Okay, very good.
We'll actually do a version of this, probably me and Grace LaFace. You'll actually sing this tomorrow, so I'll do my version of it.
Okay.
Sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she goes away. There ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. And anytime she goes away, I wonder this time where she's gone. I wonder if she's gonna stay. There ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. There ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she goes away. There ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away, wonder this time where she's gone. I wonder if she's gonna stay. There ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away.
Ain't No Sunshine with jinjx on Studio Live Performance here on KSMU. And like you say, you'll be playing that song, among many others, tomorrow morning at Cafe Benet in Farmers Park, starting at 10 a.m. Oh, boy, that's with Grace LaFace.
That's right.
You do many early morning gigs like that? I wouldn't think so.
I'll do some. I'll do them. Wherever they call, I'll go.
All right, there you go. Now tonight at Lindbergh's for Wild Bob's Musical Book Club, one of about 10 other musicians playing up there tonight. Then 2 shows tomorrow, the one at Farmers Park in the morning and then at Papo's Pizza tomorrow evening. And tell you what, it's hopefully we can get some people out to see you.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what's coming up for you? Do you have any plans for the immediate future or the distant future? You've already got the one album completed, and so what's on the horizon?
I'm still figuring that out, actually. We put the album out and we had the album release party, and I was able to play with a band, Sean Monday, who's I think probably the best bass player I've ever met, and he's amazing. He's in high demand, but so when I can get him, I love to get that.
Right.
And killer drummer Frederick Jackson, my brother. So, I'd like to do more things. It's tricky to get those guys because Frederick lives in St. Louis now, and Sean is in a lot of bands, So I'd love to do more of that, but, we'll see what happens.
So is most of what you do solo then?
That's right. Yeah.
Just for those reasons, it's hard to get the 2 sidemen you'd really like to be able to work with more often because one's 200 miles away and the other one is, another one, who knows where he is because he's so busy.
Very busy. And he's actually, from what I understand, I don't know Sean very well, but I know he's graduated from Berkeley, College of Music.
Yes.
College of Music. So, he's he knows everything. So it's once you play with a guy at that level, it's difficult to kind of play with anyone else.
You get spoiled.
That's right.
You really do.
That's exactly right.
I understand that. Now, we've talked about all the various musical influences, but one thing that you also mentioned on your website that hasn't necessarily come out today is that you like metal guitarists.
That's right.
Well, it's a whole different kind of musical genre, but there's the virtuosity of some of those guys is just astounding.
Absolutely. It's actually, I know we're in the radio, our studio, but I've got more earrings than I should have from my metal years.
Right.
Really, I got into Steve Vai, and to this day, he's really one of my favorite guitar players. He has he's actually a Berkeley graduate as well, but he's got, of course, all the technical skill, but he really strives to, I think he wants emotional diversity as well in his music. So getting into him, I got into Steve Vai and Joe Satriani and Yngwie Malmsteen, but also Frank Zappa and that whole world of music, which is kind of back to jazz in some ways.
Yes, it is, with Zappa, certainly.
Yeah, so I love all that stuff from the 80s metal scene,
But again, your songwriting, you're inspired by a lot of the folk rock folks like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell.
That's right. Interestingly enough, I got into Joni Mitchell's late 70s work, where she did Hajira and
Yes.
Don Juan's Reckless
Again,
Daughter.
a very jazz-influenced
Very
album that
jazz.
was.
I think the only reason why, as brilliant as she is, I may not have been able to get into her if Jaco Pastorius and Wayne Shorter hadn't have been on all those albums. And because I was playing bass at the time and so into Jaco, now I've went forwards and backwards with Joni Mitchell, but really that Hajira album is one of the most special albums to me that I've ever heard.
Well, let's hear some more music. We do have about 7 or 8 minutes, and we could probably maybe get 1 or 2 songs in here.
Absolutely. I could try to do another original. This was one
Sure.
of the first songs I ever wrote in Chicago about growing up here, actually. This is called The Magic Children. children they sit, making memories, telling stories. And looking back they will see things in different shades. When pictures fade, they might feel the pain. When wisdom's gained and ignorance ran out, or be allowed to see how good life can be, or feel the agony. Life stays the same, a hit and miss or a game, with people throwing blame. It's the magic children, innocent, so bright. Please don't change, stay the same. Don't let evil stop a light. When you get older, you'll see these times as wind chime, and think of friends who have passed on. They're gone. Whatever became of Patrick and Audrey's tricks now makes me wish I could see them once again and say hi, old friends. Living with change, and life was never a game when people stay the same. It's the magic children, innocent, so bright. Please don't change, stay the same. Don't let evil stop a light.
jinjx with his song The Magic Children. And you can hear Jin tonight among several different musicians playing at Wild Bob's Musical Book Club at Lindbergh's. And then 2 shows. Tomorrow he'll be playing with Grace LaFace at Cafe Benet in Farmers Park starting at 10 a.m. and then doing a 3-hour or so set tomorrow evening at Papo's Pizza. And just very briefly, you got about 30 seconds here. I know you're trying to work to get a tour together to promote your new album.
Yes, I was able to go to Chicago and KC and some other spots in December. But yeah, I'd like to do more traveling. That's really my passion. So we'll see what we can do.
Well, that album is Night Wings. It came out in September and is available from all the usual places. And it's been a great hour. It's gone by way too fast. Appreciate you coming in today. jinjx.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is Randy Stewart for Studio Live Performance on KSMU.